Alright, let's talk about the return of Ted Lasso, or should I say, the joyless return. Because honestly, that's the vibe I'm getting, and I'm not sure how to feel about it. Watching the first episode of the new season felt like running into an old friend you haven't seen in years, only to realize the spark just isn't there anymore. And I don't say that lightly. Ted Lasso was that rare show that felt like a warm hug in a cold world. So, what happened? First, let's set the stage. If you're not familiar, Ted Lasso is about this ridiculously optimistic American football coach, Ted Lasso, who somehow ends up coaching an English soccer team. It's a premise that shouldn't work, but it does, or at least, it did. The show's charm was in its unrelenting positivity, its ability to make you believe in the power of kindness, even when the world feels like it's falling apart. But this new season? It's like someone forgot to pack the optimism in Ted's suitcase. Personally, I think the issue here is timing. The last season ended on such a high note, AFC Richmond almost winning the championship, Ted deciding to go back to his son. It felt like a natural, heartfelt conclusion. But now, 3 years later, we're back, and it's hard not to feel like the show is trying to recapture something that's already slipped away. What made Ted Lasso special wasn't just its characters or its humor, it was the timing of it all. It arrived at a moment when the world was desperate for something feel-good, and it delivered. Now, it feels like we're being asked to fall in love all over again, but the magic isn't there. One thing that immediately stands out is how the show seems to be leaning into its quirks a little too hard. Remember those borderline absurd moments from the earlier seasons, like the players singing, "So long, farewell," on the pitch? Those felt earned because they were balanced by genuine emotion. But now, it's like the show is trying to remind us how quirky it can be, and it's starting to feel forced. In my opinion, the best moments in Ted Lasso were the ones that felt effortless, not the ones that screamed, "Look how charming we are." What many people don't realize is that Ted Lasso wasn't just a show about soccer or optimism, it was a show about vulnerability. Ted's whole shtick was that he was this goofy, kind-hearted guy who wore his emotions on his sleeve. But in this new season, he feels off. It's like the writers are trying to make him more complex, but instead, he just feels less relatable. And that's a problem because Ted's relatability was what made the show work. If you take a step back and think about it, the show's success was built on the idea that even the most flawed, ordinary people could make a difference. Now, it feels like Ted is being turned into some kind of superhero, and it's losing its charm. This raises a deeper question: can a show like Ted Lasso ever truly come back after it's already said its goodbyes? The finale of the last season felt so final, so complete, that this new season almost feels like an afterthought. And I get it, the show is popular, the fans want more, but at what cost? Personally, I think the showrunners should have left well enough alone. Sometimes, it's better to leave the audience wanting more than to risk diluting what made something special in the first place. A detail I find fascinating is how the show's tone has shifted. The earlier seasons had this perfect balance of humor and heart, but this new season feels heavier. It's like the writers are trying to tackle bigger, darker themes, but they're doing it without the lightness that used to balance it out. What this really suggests is that Ted Lasso might be a victim of its own success. When the show first came out, it felt like a breath of fresh air. Now, it feels like it's trying to be something it's not, and that's a shame. So, where does that leave us? Honestly, I'm not sure. I want to love this new season, I really do, but so far, it's left me feeling a little cold. Maybe it's too early to judge, maybe the show will find its footing again, but right now, it feels like Ted Lasso is struggling to recapture the magic that made it so special. And that's a tough pill to swallow, especially for a show that once felt like a reminder that kindness and optimism could change the world. What makes this really interesting is how it reflects a broader trend in TV. Shows that end on a high note often struggle when they come back for more. It's like trying to reignite a flame that's already burned out. From my perspective, Ted Lasso should have been left as a perfect, self-contained story, a reminder that sometimes, the best things in life are the ones that don't overstay their welcome. But here we are, and all I can do is hope that the show finds its way back to what made it great in the first place. So, what do you think? Are you feeling the same way about the new season, or am I being too hard on it? Let me know in the comments. And if you take a step back and think about it, maybe the real lesson here is that sometimes, it's better to let go than to try to hold on to something that's already gone. After all, as Ted himself might say, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. But personally, I think this journey might have taken one too many detours.